Alright folks, for this particular demo, this should be fairly straightforward. We're going to be using the first person template. Make sure that you actually have some starter content, and feel free, like me, if you are uncomfortable running Lumen on, I'm uncomfortable running Lumen on this machine because it's my main machine and not that virtual machine that I use for bigger demos. Go ahead and get this set up. We're going to be creating some blueprints, and we're going to be creating some elements to allow us to actually create and modify our project, and it should be fairly straightforward. So make sure that at the very least you have the first person project set up, you have a blueprint set up, you have your starter content, and you should be ready to rock and roll. Alright, so with all that set up, let's go ahead and get started. This will be my last demo for today, and this should take about maybe 40 minutes, and that'll be it. Now this is not homework, but this is something to keep in mind as we kind of showcase and display more elements of blueprints. We only spent a couple of weeks on blueprints because there's other stuff that I need to cover, including landscapes, foliage, stuff like that, world building. There's still more stuff to do. We just kind of have to get to it. In fact, let me go ahead and check the syllabus to make sure that I'm still on track here. We did Lumen, we did materials, we did physics, we post-process volume, 2 weeks of that. And now we're going to be next week heading into large environments and open world. So we're only a week behind. And we're going to be making some mountains and some valleys and making some pretty awesome environments. Combining a lot of the elements that we covered initially, and you guys will get some packages from me to kind of start with. So we'll go with that. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's start by going ahead and making a blueprint folder here. It can be blueprints or blueprints, depending on what you want. And we're going to make a couple of blueprints here. We're going to do a couple actors, so let's go ahead and very quickly make a couple actors. This is going to be BP door, and we're going to create a BP key. Actor, BP, key. Alright. Save these both. Control-Shift-S to save everything. And we've got the start of our project here. I'm going to open up the door here. And we're going to add a couple static mesh components. Here. Make sure you don't have that selected. We want to add the door at the same level. Cool. And let's go ahead and see if we can find the frame here. There it is. SM door frame. And we will want the SM door. Okay, now the door is brought in with a slight off. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get this a little bit more correct. Okay. And since forward is the direction that we're facing right now, that should be fine, and this is going to be back. So facing forward is this way, with the doorknob on the left, and then facing this way, it's going to be on the right. Okay, it doesn't really matter which direction forward is. This will be fine for our purposes as far as this is concerned. I'm going to compile and save that. Okay. I'm going to make a variable now. We're going to call these key group number. And what we're going to do is we can make variable, we can do a variable amount of keys that we can store. I'm not going to enumerate them. This should be fairly straightforward. This is going to be as simple as possible. I'm going to make sure instance editable on. This is going to be contained in the blueprint. I don't want anything else to edit this, so this is going to be in the blueprint. Should be exposed as a pen when spawning the blueprint. Yes, please. And private. Should this variable be private? Derived blueprints can modify it. Yes. Alright, that's going to be fine. We're going to have all of these on. This is what will control which key can open which door. Okay. That should be fairly straightforward. Okay, let me think. Okay, I think what I want to do is I want to make sure that I have the appropriate variable set up to make sure that this works. So yeah, another variable is open question mark, and this will be true false. And we'll set this on to private, that way we can't see it, so it's not going to be exposed. Other blueprints can't modify it. It's fine. So this will be self-contained. This will be public, and let's add a couple of changes here. We'll put in new categories. All right, that should kind of line things up a little bit. So we've got our key group settings, and then we have a privacy boolean to decide whether or not this is going to be open. Let's compile the blueprint. Okay, so that's going to properly load up our different values. I'm not going to instantiate these values just yet. I think they'll be fine by default. All right, I don't actually have a key, so we're just going to hijack something else to use. Compile, save. Let's go ahead and put this in here. We'll use the little statue guy to make a key. Let's go ahead and open up our key. And we're just going to go ahead and add a static mesh. Add static mesh. I want to call this our key. And then we've got our BP key. Okay, that'll be fine. Let's add a mesh here. Let's see. What is that little thing called again? SM statue. Okay, we can do that. And we'll just put a different material on this. Oh, didn't mean to move it. Any gold? Okay. The cue to select that and have a look at it. There we go. Here's our awesome looking key. So this could be like the blue key from Doom or whatever. This is going to be fine for our purposes. Again, all I did was added a couple of things over here to be able to make it work. This is going to be fine for our purposes. I'm not super worried about whether or not I have the correct key. This will just be an item that we can set up. And I think I might want to make it a little bit smaller, so we'll set this to like 0.8, 0.8, and 0.8. And that should be the correct size. Compile, save that. That should be pretty okay. Just like we had previously, let's go ahead and get our key group number. And we'll add that in here because this will be its own variable that's going to be stored inside of it. Even though these two are going to share a name, key group number, these two values are not going to be speaking to each other. So key group number, and this will be an integer. And then we'll do the same thing. We'll set this up the exact same way. And what did I call that previous group? I called that a key group setting. Okay. Okay. Let's compile, save. I shouldn't need any additional changes. So even though these two variables are the same, these variables do not speak to each other. These two variables are private and exist only in their particular elements. So you see they're the same? Let's throw it. You know, I'm going to throw the same tooltip in this one as well. Keep it clean. Okay. Let's close the result. Okay. Alright, that's fine. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set everything up as interactable. So you can create what's called an interface with blueprints. We cover this in the intermediate class, but let's go ahead and see if I can actually make one. So we've got our BP key. Let me see how big this thing is going to be. I can double check to make sure it's the right size. Yeah, I think that's okay. It could be a little smaller, but I can always go back and play with that. Let's set up a few things here. Key can sit over there. Door can sit right there. Okay, now we can test that out. Let's go back into a blueprint folder. Let's create a BP interface. And this interface is going to be called BP. So the thing about interactables is you can create shortcut blueprints that allow you to create an entire class of elements that allow you to basically create a container, right? Blueprints are just containers. You can create a container for all elements that can be interacted with. In this particular case, it's our key and our door. We can interact with both of those. And being able to interact with them, they can in fact go into an interactable function to act as an event. Anytime we interact with something, that is an interactable, right? So we don't have to say, oh, press E to use this E to open up this door to create that event. The event itself is an action, so we can press E to open the door, but we don't, just like in the previous demo, we were pressing, we weren't pressing buttons, but we were using the input events in order to move our character. We can also create input events that have multiple behaviors. So it's not just open the door, here's this blueprint that opens the door. It's a bunch of different type of interactables that have different outcomes that are bound to a key, as opposed to the E key only opens the door. Okay, let's see, how do I want to set this up here? So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this bad boy up and then we'll get this set up. So we've got our, if you notice, this is very similar to a construction script. It has a function and it has the ability to kind of set this up. We'll go ahead and set this up shortly. Let's go ahead and name this function. Can I press F2? Yes, I can. Let's do event on, what should I call it, on interaction? Yeah. We'll do an on interaction event. And then let's add an input here. And the input is actually going to be the first person character. We're going to grab an object reference to first person character. And player. Yeah, I'll call this player character. Hold on, this is getting a little small, so let's go ahead and open this up a little bit so we can see it. Okay, let's compile. That shouldn't have any issues. That should just be fine. So what we've done is we've created a custom function event called onInteraction, and then it's going to get the player character. This is similar to casting, but we're already storing the player character inside of this function. So now we have an interactable. So what this means is that we have a blueprint function that can be referenced by all other blueprints that can be used for interactables anytime we want to go ahead and use it. Okay, let's go ahead and go back to the BP door here. I think we can close this. I don't think we need this anymore. So let's go back to the BP door. And let's see, where are they storing them? Let's go to class defaults. Let's see, it should be somewhere over here. Where is it? It might have changed this from the previous version that I knew. Let's see, where is it? There should be an on interactables that we can open up. There it is. It's under class settings. Sorry, it used to be under class defaults back in the day, but let's go ahead and open up class settings, and we can add our interface over here. So remember that we made our interface right here, BP Interactables. I'm going to have that selected. There it is. And that's going to add this interface over here. And there we go. Now we have a functional event that we can drag into the scene that references the character's location. So now we can create any interactable that we want. We can store this into any interactable that we need. This makes our lives a whole lot easier. So interfaces can be used to basically create connections between objects that are supposed to marry each other. So we are going to pick up an object and we're going to use it. That is considered an interface because we are interfacing with an object. So we have our on interaction event and we're ready to rock and roll. Let's go ahead and drag this in. Oh, wait, no. There it is. You have to right click it. You can't drag this in. This function was not marked as a blueprint callable. It cannot be placed in a graph. However, if you right click it and then implement it, that should work. Let's do the same thing for a key. Class settings. Add BP interactables. Yeah. Oh, that's not going to work. Let's go back in the event graph. See. This function was not marked as BP callable and cannot be placed in the graph. Let's see if I can actually turn that on. It might not allow us because I don't think interaction events are callable because they're not technically functions. There are functions, but they're not blueprints in the traditional sense. So it's not flagged correctly. And there's no way to turn it on as far as this interface is concerned. Let's see if we can set this up to callable. Nope, it doesn't allow us to set this up. That's fine. This is just an interface function, which is okay. Cool. Compile, save. Compile, save. All right, just like in our previous demo, let's go ahead. I'm going to Control-Shift-Save everything while I still can. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and edit project settings. And I'm going to go into my inputs here. Now there's going to be some action mappings already that are in here. And there's already some axis mappings, so we don't have to worry about that. I'm just going to go ahead. I'm not going to use a controller for this demo. I'm going to create an interact. Actually, let's create, it's going to be interact. It's going to use button. And then we'll set this up to E. No shift, no command, nothing crazy. We're just going to have a use key. That's going to be our E key. So your typical Skyrim, press E to, don't want to press F to pick, no, press E to interact. That's going to be our door open command. And that should be pretty straightforward. The next thing we want to do is we want to set up a ray trace. Well, this could be called a ray trace, this could be called a raycast or a line trace, or what do some people call it? Hit scan. We need to basically trace a line from the character to our interactable. In this particular case, this is going to be the door. So now that we have our use button, let's go ahead and actually go back into the character. And now we haven't used the character blueprint yet. Let's find it. First person blueprint, blueprint, first person character. Let's ignore all this other stuff in here because we've made something like this in the past. And I'm going to create a new comment. Line trace for detecting the door. Okay, we'll do a line trace. Let's go ahead and just kind of put that up there. And I'm just going to make a big section that I can actually modify in here. Okay. Is use in here? Yep, here's our action event. We'll grab our action event that we just made. Now, I didn't talk about this in the previous one. Are these two not the same? Think about this for a second. You can pause to think if you'd like. Input action is bound to E, is it not? Why don't we just summon the E key whenever we are binding anything to our actions? Well, the reason why we don't bind anything, well, the reason why it's not a good idea, not that we don't, and I do it a lot when I'm testing, right? The reason why we don't like to bind this, we don't like using this, because this is hard-coding. Let's say in the game we allowed people to change the button commands, or let's say during production we figure out, hey, we want to go ahead and change from a keyboard to controller. If we are changing from a keyboard to a controller, it's as simple as going back and changing the input maps up in your project settings. If you hard code every button to your game like this, that means, oh no, I now have to go back in and change every button manually because we're not using an input action event. We are hard coding a button. There's a time and a place for when you want to hard code buttons, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. I do this a lot still. Mostly if I'm just implementing something that needs to be tested and I don't want to set up my input keys or I don't want to spend the time to set it up, but they've made it easier in 5.0 to be able to set this up properly. That's fine, right? You'll be okay. Again, generally, we don't want to hard code commands because hard coding commands makes it so that we can't edit things later if they change. So here there be dragons. Just keep this in mind. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. Just keep this in mind when you're kind of working on your scripts, that this is totally a viable thing to do. This right here is okay. These two are equal because we have bound. But if we no longer want to use E for our function, then we actually have to go back in and change the button manually in the code for every character that we use this on, as opposed to just using the input action. All right, I'm going to do line traces here, so this should be fairly straightforward. You guys don't need to know how to do this. We'll do a line trace by channel. Okay, and then we're going to get the first-person camera. Where is it? Right here. We're going to get first-person camera. That's our eye. And we're going to go ahead and get world location, and we're also going to go ahead. So we're going to get forward, and we're going to get where the camera is located. Cool. Let's make some room. Okay. Let's create a variable. Use range. Let's call this use range. And what do I want that range to be? Let's go ahead and change the value in here to a float here. Let's compile. Let's compile it. I think I want that range to be I don't know, 250. This is a distance away from where we're located that we can actually interact with the element, so we'll do that. And from here, I'm going to grab my use range. So this is how far the E key is going to work. We're going to multiply these two together. That should work. Okay. And we are going to, let's make a little bit more room. I'm running out of room here. I'm sorry, guys. Put that down a little bit. Okay. So we're going to get forward vector, and then we're going to add 200 centimeters to that. And then we're going to get the world location wherever we're going to get that, and we'll need to start and end trace. So the world location, the start of our line cast. Actually, let's set this up pretty far so we can see it. Let's do 400. Okay. So I changed the use range on that. So we can open the door pretty far. We can always go back and tweak this later. The start is going to be at wherever our camera is. That's going to be the start of our line. And the end of our line is going to be where we're located in the world, the forward direction, both of these added together. So let's go ahead and do some add math. We'll do this plus this, and that'll be our end. And we'll do our debug type persistent. We're going to ignore itself, and this is going to be our line trace that tells us what is going to happen when we are interacting with something. Okay, I think what I'm going to do also is I'm going to go back into the BP door, and what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to do a print string here. And we'll call this hit door. I'm going to key. We'll call this, we'll do the print string, and this will be listed as hit key to see if we've interacted with them. That way we know for sure whether or not these elements are being interacted with. Let's compile and save everything. Well, actually we can just compile and then blanket save. Control-Shift-S. Awesome. Okay. Let's finish up our implementation here. I think I'm going to need a couple of branches. Do a couple of branches. There we go. We'll branch this out into here. And we'll wait on a return value for a conditional. And then we make sure if it's true. If it's true and we hit something, so if we hit something, it's true, and then we continue on with our branch. If it's false, we do nothing. So let's go ahead and just do break it results to get all of our results from this. And we're going to go, let's see, we'll grab our interface here. Our BP interactables. So if it interacts with anything flagged with an interactable, there we go. We will do an on hit event. Where is our hit actor? There we go. Test object will be whatever actor gets hit. And we are then going to flag this branch to based on our conditional. So we hit, if we hit an actor and that actor has an interface, we are going to flag this as true. see. Let's see what I want to do here for this. Oh, wait, no. I think what I want to do is I want to grab the actor. Here. On interacting event, which should be, there it is. Okay, so we got an event here. We're going to call that. So if this is true and we have an interaction event, we want to make sure that we are passing the information on to the interactable. So this kind of loops, and we'll get a reference to self to clean that up a little bit. There we go. Kind of ugly, but I think that'll work. Will that compile? That will in fact compile. Okay. So if we get a hit, that'll be true, and then we'll fire off the interaction event, and then it will then hit our key, and that will hit this interaction event. This will get fired off. That's our trigger for that, and then it'll show us what we actually hit. I think that is going to be what works for us. Before I keep going, let me go ahead and file project settings here. Edit project settings. I'm going to disable Lumen because I want to be able to see this in good resolution. Rendering. Screen space. Screen space. Shadow maps. Okay, that should be fairly straightforward. Okay, I think we're good there. Okay, let's go back to our main screen here. Scalability, auto. Should be setting it to epic. Oh, let's see. Set it cinematic. Okay. Hit play. Okay, we have our game here. That works. I'm going to press E. So that's what we're seeing right here. We're seeing our line trace. As you can see, we have no successful hit. Okay, we have a successful hit, and we see that general distance from what it's hitting from. Cool. So we see that we can fire off these rays, and that's what it's checking for. Okay. So now we set this up. If I hit this properly, there we go. I've got a hit key event that comes up, and if I hit the door, what the hell? Does the door not have any collision? Hold on, folks. Let me test this real quick. Wait, it does have collision. But why aren't we able to hit it? Huh. Give me a sec. Let's go ahead and open up this blueprint here. Where's my door? Double check. Where's my door frame? SM door. Let's see here. Do you have collision on? No, it doesn't have collision. But the door, okay, I understand what's happening here. So the reason why part of our door has collision is because the frame itself does have collision. And default scene root doesn't really care about whether or not it has collision. But our frame has collision, but our door doesn't. Does our frame have collision? Let's go ahead and check. Open this up. Yep. Okay, show some collision. Okay, that's the problem. Alright, let's fix that. Let's go ahead, collision, add box collision. And I'm going to try to get a little closer here. Turn it down. Let's see. Nobody here should ever have any collision problems anymore, because we now have the correct collision. Do I want to add a sphere collision for that? Let's not. I think this will be fine. Set another box collision. Now we're just going to move this over here, down here, and just so the door handle has its own collision. Moving a little too far. Let's get this close. Let's get this a little closer. Let's look from the front. There we go. Doesn't have to be an exact science. It can just be close enough. Good enough. Let's go ahead and look at it from the side. There we go. That way we have a little bit of extra fun collision that we need. Perspective. That's going to be fine. Let's save that. Should have collision now. Control Shift Save. Say play. Press E. Hit door. Hit key. Alright. So the game can obviously tell between our hits from our key and our door, so we need to be able to pick up this key and be able to open up this door. So, okay. That's pretty straightforward. Alright, so let's take a look. Let's review real quick what kind of trouble I'm getting myself into here. We've got our key group number. Okay, we need to add that to the character. So that means we need to be able to store a multitude of keys. So let's go ahead and go back to the character here. And we're going to create a... Well, I don't need the door open anymore. I don't need interactables open anymore. We've got our key and our door and our first-person character. Let's go ahead and first-person character can be in front. Key group number, key group number. Okay, let's go ahead and add a new variable. Key group number. Cool. And we're going to go ahead and call that an integer. We're going to make this private, so this number can't modify how many the keys. The character should not be able to modify the key types. The key types are going to be set at the engine level. Let's go ahead and set this to an array because we're going to be storing a bunch of stuff in here. And do we have a category in here? What did I call the other category? Key group setting. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's. Okay, we've got our array elements in here. Key group setting, key group number. We've got our privacy bool in there. That should be okay, I think. All right. Okay, I think that's okay. Okay, so let me think about this. We need to add some things to this array, but we can't add them already because we want the player to pick up the key. So let me think. Let's add a function here. Pick up key. And I think that'll be okay. Let's go ahead and grab the key channels here. We're going to get that. Add unique. And let's go ahead and add here. We'll go ahead and call this an integer, and this is going to be called we'll just keep them separate here. We'll call this key group and then key group number. That way we know that these two values are working together. So we've got our key group and our key group number. So this will be stored as our number, and this is what key the group is in. So, or what group the key is in, sorry. And we'll plug this into here, and that should compile. Is that going to compile? Yes, it is. All right, so what we're doing here is we are picking up a key, and we are checking to see what it's supposed to be. Let's see. Don't think this needs to be pure anything. Category is going to be private, I think. key group setting. There we go. So we've got our pickup key set up. I think this will work for us. Let's check to make sure that this is actually public. Yep, okay, that's public. That's going to be fine. Okay, I think I need to make another function here. Let's make that. So a little dangerous to put question marks, but this is going to be a Boolean function. So let's see. Let's do, let's grab the key group number. And we're going to ask whether or not this is going to contain. Let me see here. No, that's not what I want here. Let me think. Let's see. Let's go ahead and add an input here. It's going to be an integer key group. It'll be fine. And plug this in here. So that's going to discern our key group. Let's make sure that everything here is set up so we already have a key. This isn't going to make really a difference, I think, but let's go ahead and force that to be pure. This is going to decide whether or not this is like either pure function or how can I explain this? Pure functions don't modify anything technically. This is basically going to act as a getter function. We are going to get whether or not we already have a key. If we have a key, we want to make sure that we do nothing. That way that we don't run into any situation where we create a situation where if we don't already have a key, then we're looking for one. We don't want that. All this is going to do is this pure function is going to make it so that we are not changing the state of anything. We are just doing a simple check. That's it. We are doing a simple check that's going to discern whether or not we are actually properly checking for our key and checking to see if we can actually get away with making this. I think this will compile. Okay, this is getting kind of scary, folks. I haven't tested this in a hot minute. You know what? I've never tried this before. Let's set this up. Let's go to our set up our key because that one we know is working. I'm going to unplug this for now. Can I get this? I can't get a validated get, I think. I'd like to get a validated get from this, but I think I'd have to check for validity first. Normally, if you have a variable, and it was the right circumstances, you could set up what's called a validated get. So if we were getting if we were doing this as a get, oh, this is set to read only, so we can't actually grab this as a getter. Okay, so if we had a variable that we could get and set, we could set up a validated get. That's something that I've been working on using lately, as opposed to doing what I'm about to do, which is checking for validity. This is something to avoid what's called a runtime error. If we were in a situation where for some reason we were not in possession of the character, this code could theoretically still fire at a moment when we disconnected from the character and then fired off anyways. And if the character is not valid, then it would return a bunch of errors and it could potentially call SAG or crash a game as it doesn't have an address to go to. So we're going to create some validation here. What's that meme? I'm going to do it just because I think it's funny. Let's see if I remember it. Let me think. People make like a bool or like a they make a component that is you, and then they check for validity, and then of course you are valid. That's the joke. We can't convert this to a validated get from in here, so I think we're just gonna have to check to see if the character's in control. So Let me think about this one for a sec. Okay, let me think. Whatever. Let's go ahead and do a validate whether or not this is the character, and we'll do this. We'll do a rewrap. Put this here. Cool. So that's just going to carry it forward. Check for validity in there. Please move. Thank you. And if this is valid, meaning that the character is in possession, we are possession of the player character, we can go ahead and let's grab our function here. So as the character, the valid key, do we have? No, we have to do this as the here. We can pick up our key. Okay, that'll work. Come on, give me my line. Thank you. We can pick up our key. Here's your key group number. Cool. And then double check for validity. So if this is valid, and we are in control of our player character, we're going to pick up the key and then add it to our inventory. And that key group number is going to be based on what the key is set up as. And the key group number is currently set to instance editable, so we'll be able to edit that in the main editor. That'll compile. Pretty sure that'll work. Let's do this. Let's add the print string to let us know that we hit the key. I know it's. We'll just leave this in for development right now. I'm not gonna worry about that, and then we'll destroy that key. Now we'll destroy the physical actor, but we'll be able to store that particular key regardless. So I think that'll work. Let's go ahead and go back to the map here. Let's go ahead and go back to the map here and we'll play. I always like to go back to the map myself. Let's double check here. Okay, that's working. Our Raycasts are working. Let's see if we can pick it up from across the room. Nope, our Raycast is not far enough. Let's go and pick up our item. Cool. So we can pick up our item. It got destroyed, but it's being stored. That's fine. And then we can hit the door properly now. Okay. What happens when we hit the doorknob? Oh, it's a little bit higher. There we go. So we are actually able to hit the doorknob as well. So that works. We don't have to be super precise. I wonder why that's a little bit higher than my reticle. I think that's just where the camera is located. Oh well. Alright. So this is all working just fine. Our hits are working, even if we are clicking on the glass, our hits are working, and our key is able to be picked up. Cool, okay. So let's go ahead and make some logic to the door. It's more or less the same. I'm going to disconnect this print string. Okay, let's check for validity. Let's grab a rewrap pin. Cool. We'll grab the player character. So as the player character, that'll be fine. Put that right there. So as player character is valid, we're going to go ahead and grab the, since we're as a character, already has key. So if we have a key, we'll grab our key group number, whatever that value is supposed to be. We have a key group number. We'll do a branch node. If this is true and we are in control of the character, we'll return a conditional. So if we already have a key, this will be, okay, we're going to have to do a couple of print strings here to get this working fine, I think. Okay. Let's go ahead and change these. Door locked. Sad face. Now this is not going to work initially, but door unlocked. Needed. Go ahead and do this and this. Let's compile. Let's play. Let's test this out. Hit key. Door unlocked, time lock, logic needed. Let's reset that, hit play. Let's not pick up the key. Door locked. Okay, so the door now detects that the door is locked. You can pick up the key. Door unlocked, but timeline logic needed. Okay, so now we have two separate states of a door being locked, and now that we can actually, let's actually change the key logic a little bit. We'll do key pick up. Now you would probably want to have a sound or something for that. Let's go ahead and compile that and hit play. Oop, missed the key. Hit the key. Hit the door. Now I don't have a function that consumes the key. So let's say you have a limited amount of keys. You would probably want to remove that key from the character. I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm just going to assume that I'm holding onto the key. And I'm not going to be getting rid of it as soon as I have this said key. So just to kind of keep my logic kind of straightforward here. Because at that point you can go PP key, and then we have a pickup key, but then we'd have to create a function that used the key. So we have our pickup key, which is right over here, and then we'd have to, as our pickup key is add unique, we would have to so we already have that plugged into our key group. Let's see. Probably remove item from the array. Yep. And then write a script that allows us to actually remove the key properly, but that's going to be fine. I'll test to make sure I didn't break anything. Door locked. Key picked up. Door unlocked. Timeline lock. Okay, so I need some timeline logic in order to get that to open. Let's go back to the door. Okay, let me think. Let me think. Not really. Kind of a little lost. I've been staring at this for too long. Get on the ground, sweetie. I'm busy teaching right now. I love you. Let's see. It's my kitten. Let's go back to the door here. Actually, we are in the door. Let's go ahead and make some logic for this. And what in the world am I thinking here? Okay, we've got our is open here. We'll grab a couple setters for that. Add custom event. Open door. I know. Cool. Alright. So open door. If the door is open, we're going to set this to true. Plug that in. Closed door. Door is not open. What's our default state? Our state is not open. So is open is false. Okay. Plug that in. Alright. Let's go ahead and make a timeline. I want to call this. Okay. So what we're going to do with our timeline is we're going to use this to modify the direction that the door opens whenever we actually successfully hit the door. So we're going to open the door when this is true, or we're going to, if the door is closed, we're going to be able to open it, and if the door is open, we're going to be able to close it. At least that's how the logic is supposed to work. Let's go and open up that. Let's go ahead and add our float track. We're going to call this, I don't know, door open animation. Let's go ahead and set the, we'll do this within like a second, so we'll do that in a second. Let's zoom those extents. We're going to add two keys, shift with left click. Let's do this 0 and 0, and this will be like a value of like 135. And let's go ahead and see if this looks okay. And we'll set this at a time of 1 here. There we go. Let's go ahead and fit that to the track here. Okay, so the door is going to open relatively quick. That should be exactly what I need to get this open. Maybe I should open it a little bit more. This is going to be a value of, like, instead of opening 90 degrees, I want it to open further, so I'll open it like 135 degrees. I think that'll be okay. Okay, I think that'll work. So let's go ahead and go back to the event graph. So open door, it's going to play forward, and closed door, it's going to play backwards. And so let's go ahead and grab the door itself. Where is the door located? What axis are we rotating around? The y-axis. And it looks like the pivot is already properly placed in the corner. So we're rotating around, you have to imagine a vertical pole. So we're rotating around that axis. So let's go ahead and go back to the event graph. And we are going to grab the door. And we're going to set relative rotation, relative based to the location of the axes. We're going to split this. And we are going to rotate door open animation in the z-axis, because the z is our vertical pole. Okay, I think that'll work. Z is our vertical pole, and that's going to be our target, and we'll update that. And I think that's going to give us the correct element. Let's go ahead and also zoom back out here. So I'm going to leave these in for testing. So open door event will be fine right there. Close door should be fine right there. We really should check to see if the door is actually open first. We'll check to see if it's open. We'll get it. If it's open, let's break those. Alt left click breaks those. Let's break everything here. In fact, I'm going to get rid of these print strings. I might add them again here in a sec. So we'll do another branch. So if this is all true, and we can in fact already have, and we have a key, and the key can be opened, we're going to check to see if the door is open. If the door is open, then we're going to close it. If the door is closed, we're going to open it. Okay. I think that'll work. Let's compile and save. Let's see if that's going to give us what we want. Let's control shift save everything. Save all. Thank you. Play. Let's test. Okay, can't open the door. Key picked up. What in tarnation? Minor issue. Let me fix that. Wrong direction. Oh, yikes. Wrong thing. Let's see. Why is this so big? We don't want our mesh to be smaller. We want our hit component to be smaller. Okay, that's not actually affecting the capsule components. Let's see if we can modify that. It's not letting us. Let me think. How can I make this smaller? Oh, I'm an idiot. Is this it? No, that's not it. test that again. Should be able to walk through the door now. Checking again. Cool. Okay, let's close. Yep. It'll only open in one direction because obviously we have this set up. It's only open in one direction. We could set up an event to flip this over, I think, but this will work just fine. And let's check to see if the rest of our stuff works here. Let's see. I hope this works. Key group number 5. Key group 5. Key group 0. Key group 0. So let's go ahead and hit play. Okay. Pick up that key. Won't open that door, but we'll open that door. Pick up this key. Well, we can't worry about that one right now. Okay, so our key groups are working. Everything seems to be working just fine. So we've got our key that works just fine. And so in this particular case, let's go ahead and delete some stuff. Let's select our lights here. Lovely. Must skylight. Come for me, so love the big light in there. Let's go ahead and move this over here. Getting a lot of lag for some reason. Okay, so the key groups work. This is key group 1, and this one is key group 1. Delete that. Delete that. Put this over somewhere else. Let's go ahead and build a wall. It's going to be an architecture. It's 4x3. Let's just go to the top and do this stuff. It's a little bit too fat for the frame, but that'll fine. Oh, my snaps aren't even turned on. That's fine. Front here. I think it's going to be close enough. Oh, had it right already. Although you can see that we can shoot through the door if we actually interact with it. So that door needs to have a bigger bounding box. Pick up our key. Nice. Of course we can hit that, doesn't do anything. Let's get rid of that testing stuff. Let's go into our first person character here. Let's go into the event graph. Let's go ahead and disable our casting type. And let's see if we can fix that. Where is that? Where's our aiming? Stick input is whatever. That's whatever. Get forward roll vector. Can I fix that trace? Looking to see where they actually have it, just in case I can fix it in here. I think this is just going to have to be this particular way. I'm trying to remember if there's a way to get the trace to cooperate a little bit. I apologize for the sloppiness of this one. This one I'm trying to build from memory. Normally, whenever I'm doing something like this, a lot of it is muttering code to myself and trying to figure out whether or not I've done the correct things here. Trying to think here. Let's see. I think that'll fix it. Yep, that fixes it. Okay. We get a direct line of sight. Put that crosshair. Awesome. And if we want to set that up a little bit shorter so that our cast doesn't actually, we'll do like a 150. Compile, hit play. So now our raycast is relatively short. That up. Can't open it from across the room. Has to walk to the door. Bam. Have to be closer to activate the fire. Okay. Now we can finish it off by deleting our raycast ability here. No raycast. And then, of course, for the key, we do want to print something on screen, obviously. Let's go ahead and plug that. Compile, save, Control for save, all, hit play. Gotta be really close to pick it up, so I might want to expand that range a little bit. There we go. Cool. So we could put the key somewhere else. Let's expand that range a little bit just for funsies, just to make sure that we're actually able to hit it. It was probably fine where it was at. Probably 375. I think that'll be a little bit better. Actually, let's set it to like 5,000. You'll see the comedy machine kind of kick in. Who needs to open doors when we can be all the way across the room and pick up keys, right? Let's set this to something like, I don't know, 375. I think that would be fine. And it's fine. Yes. All right, we probably set up an on-hit event to show up something on the UI that says, hey, press E to open door, or have a sound that prompts if you check, if you get too close and don't have the key, you get a sound, or various other things that you can add to kind of add a little bit more pizzazz to this. Let me go back in here real quick so we can change something. I don't want to attach anything. Yeah, that's just fine, I think. Alright. That's not bad. It actually worked out. I was a little worried that this was going to be a mess. And of course, this kind of stuff gets a little more complicated. I was originally just going to do a key that opened the door. But then we have to close the door, but then we have to want to do other stuff with it. So, I mean, there we go. We've got the ability to mess with things, and we can open things up and close them. Okay. And of course, our collision is working. We can always widen the collision on this to prevent us from shooting through the wall. But as you can see, we're able to shoot through this wall anyways because we're able to collide through it. Just stuff for hit detection that we have to look up at some point. Maybe move the hit detection back a little bit. Cool. And again, keep picking up the key. Let me hammer the E key here. Yep. Will not work. Give me. Yes. Oh, always gotta be polite. Close the door. Alright. That's gonna do it for this. I'm going to hop into the outro. How long was this video? Like an hour? Yeah, about an hour. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. All right, we'll go ahead and wrap this up and call this a week. And I will see you guys in the outro.